The more desperately you try to make a woman choose you, the more likely you are to teach her that she never has to chase you. And she may never admit this. Perhaps she does not even understand it herself. But constant attention does not always create deeper attraction. Sometimes, it quietly destroys the tension that attraction needs in order to survive. Because when your interest becomes completely predictable, when your time is always available, and when your emotional world begins revolving around her approval, there is nothing left for her mind to pursue. So, what makes a woman keep chasing a man, not merely for a few days, but emotionally, over time? It is not cruelty. It is not pretending not to care, and it is certainly not disappearing simply to provoke anxiety. It is the presence of a man whose attention has value, because his life does not depend upon giving it away. A man who can desire a woman without becoming controlled by that desire. A man who remains warm, but not endlessly available. Interested, but not emotionally dependent. Present, but never so predictable that she feels she has already discovered every part of him. That is the paradox most men never understand. The moment you stop trying to convince her to value you is often the moment she begins wondering whether she has done enough to keep your attention. And that question creates something powerful: curiosity, emotional investment, the quiet uncertainty of not knowing whether your entire world can be possessed simply because she wants it. Machiavelli understood a principle that reaches far beyond politics. Human beings rarely become deeply preoccupied with what feels permanently guaranteed. We think about what remains unresolved. We pursue what still requires effort, and we assign greater value to what appears capable of existing without us. That is why excessive pursuit so often produces the opposite of what a man intends. He believes more attention will prove his value, more messages will prove his interest, more reassurance will create security. So he texts first. He calls when she does not answer. He rearranges his plans. He becomes available whenever she needs him, and he gives more, believing that greater effort must eventually create greater desire. But then something strange happens. The closer he moves towards her, the further away she seems to drift, as though an invisible force pushes in the opposite direction every time he takes another step forward. The more he offers, the less valuable his attention appears. The more he explains himself, the less curious she becomes, and the harder he tries to secure the connection, the less emotionally invested she seems to be. Why? Because attraction does not grow from effort alone. It grows through perceived value, autonomy, emotional contrast, and the feeling that another person still possesses a world you have not completely entered. Think about it. Why does the mind replay an unfinished conversation more often than a predictable one? Why can one moment of genuine attention from a self-contained person feel more powerful than 100 messages from someone constantly seeking reassurance? And why do people sometimes become more curious, precisely when they realize they cannot command another person's attention at will? The answer is uncomfortable. The human mind is drawn towards what it has not completely resolved, what it cannot fully predict, what reveals enough to create connection, but retains enough independence to preserve curiosity. And once you understand that principle, you begin to see attraction differently. You stop asking, "What else can I do to make her choose me?" And you begin asking, "What does my behavior communicate?" Before I even say a word, does it communicate confidence, or fear of losing her, choice, or emotional dependence, a full life, or a life waiting for her attention to give it meaning? Because people do not respond only to what you say, they respond to the invisible message beneath your behavior. And sometimes, the man who gives everything believes he is communicating love, when what she feels is pressure. He believes he is demonstrating loyalty, when what she perceives is unlimited availability. He believes constant reassurance will make her feel closer, when, without realizing it, he removes every reason for her to become curious, to initiate, or to invest. But understand this clearly: this is not about manipulating a woman. It is not about manufacturing jealousy. It is not about ignoring her, punishing her with silence, or treating emotions like pieces on a chessboard. Those tactics may create temporary anxiety, but anxiety is not loyalty. Obsession is not connection, and control is not attraction. What we are exploring is something far more important: how to stop abandoning yourself in the attempt to be chosen, how to recognize the signals you send without realizing it, and how to relate to a woman from security rather than fear, from choice rather than need, from genuine interest rather than the constant pressure to prove your worth. Because there is an enormous difference between a man who says, "I want you in my life," and a man whose behavior silently says, "I need you to choose me so that I can feel valuable." One creates attraction, the other creates emotional weight. And this is where everything begins to change, because the behavior that keeps a woman emotionally invested is not endless pursuit. It is not indifference either. It is emotional sovereignty, the ability to care deeply without losing your center, to offer attention without surrendering your purpose, to create closeness without becoming completely consumed by it, and to remain a man whose life still has direction, meaning, and momentum, whether she moves closer or not. Once you understand this, you no longer need to chase attraction. You begin creating the conditions in which investment becomes mutual, and the first principle may sound completely backwards, but once you see how it works, you may finally understand why chasing harder has so often made the person you wanted chase less. Now, this is where the psychology becomes uncomfortable. Decades ago, researchers discovered something almost embarrassingly simple. Place two identical objects in front of someone. Make one easy to reach, and place the other just beyond their grasp. Which one do you think the mind values more? The one it cannot easily possess. Not because it is better, not because it is rarer, but because access changes perception, and the same mechanism quietly enters relationships. Imagine this. It is Friday night. You canceled plans with your friends because she said she might be free. Not that she made plans with you. She said she might be free. So you wait. Your phone lights up. You check it instantly. Nothing. 10 minutes later, you check again. And somewhere beneath the hope, there is a truth you do not want to admit. Your entire evening is now waiting for her decision. You call it interest. But what does your behavior communicate? I have nowhere more important to be. I will rearrange my life for access to yours. My attention is guaranteed, whether you earn it or not. And once something becomes guaranteed, the mind stops pursuing it. That is scarcity, not a cheap trick, not manufactured silence, a law of perceived value. But this is where weak men misunderstand the lesson. They begin ignoring messages on purpose. They count hours before replying. They perform coldness, hoping anxiety will look like attraction. That is not power. That is insecurity wearing a mask. The powerful man does not pretend to be unavailable. His attention is naturally limited because his life already has weight. He has work that matters, standards he refuses to betray, a purpose that existed before she arrived and will remain if she leaves. Now picture two men walking into a first date. The first is silently asking, "Does she like me? Am I attractive enough? What can I say to impress her?" He laughs too quickly, agrees too easily, ignores the red flags because rejection frightens him more than incompatibility. By the end of the night, he has already chosen her before discovering who she is. The second man enters with a different question. Do I like her? Does her character match her appearance? Has she earned a place in the life I have built? He is not arrogant, he is evaluating, and she feels the difference before either man explains himself. One is asking for approval, the other possesses standards. And standards create tension because they cannot be negotiated with beauty alone. A man without standards makes every woman feel chosen. A man with standards makes her wonder whether she qualifies. That is the hidden shift. Stop entering the room hoping to pass her test. Enter knowing she is also taking yours. But why does this work? Why is the human mind not simply drawn to the person who gives the most, cares the most, or is always available? The answer is hidden inside dopamine. And almost everything you have heard about dopamine is incomplete. Dopamine is not merely the chemical of pleasure. It is the chemical of anticipation, the feeling before the message arrives, the tension before the answer, the question your mind cannot close. Will it happen or not? When an outcome is guaranteed, the brain relaxes. There is nothing left to pursue, nothing left to discover, nothing left to earn. But introduce uncertainty, and the mind leans forward. Researchers observed this in experiments involving reward. When a reward arrived predictably, the brain adapted. But when the reward became uncertain, sometimes appearing, sometimes not, dopamine activity shifted towards anticipation. The possibility became more psychologically powerful than the reward itself. Now translate that into your own life. You send her a message. 5 minutes pass. You unlock your phone. Nothing. 10 minutes later, you check again. Then you see her online. She still has not replied. And suddenly, you are no longer thinking about the conversation. You are thinking about what her silence means. Did I say too much? Is she losing interest? Is there another man? Be honest. How many times have you checked a phone that never made a sound? That is not romance. That is anticipation taking control of your attention. Psychology calls this intermittent reinforcement. It is one of the most powerful patterns behind compulsive attachment, but this is where the truth becomes dangerous. Some men hear this and immediately create a strategy. I will wait 4 hours before replying. I will disappear for 2 days. I will make her anxious, so she wants me more. That is not emotional control. That is a man controlled by the outcome, pretending he is detached. He is still thinking about her, still watching the clock, still organizing his behavior around her reaction. Only now, insecurity is wearing the costume of power. The truly self-contained man does not calculate silence. Sometimes he replies immediately, sometimes later. Sometimes he puts his phone down and forgets it exists. Why? Because he is working, training, building, living. His attention is not scarce because he performs scarcity. It is scarce because his life demands it. And women can often feel the difference. Perhaps not consciously. Perhaps they could never explain it. But it appears in everything. Your posture, your voice, the speed at which you abandon your opinions to avoid disagreement, the nervous laugh after saying something honest, the way you claim to have standards, then betray every one of them when an attractive woman gives you attention. You can imitate delayed replies, but you cannot fake inner gravity for long, because eventually, your behavior reveals what your words are trying to hide. And that is the line between attraction and manipulation. From the outside, the behavior may appear identical, but the source is completely different. One man creates distance because he desperately wants a reaction. The other simply refuses to abandon his life for validation. One performs value, the other possesses it. And what comes next is not a collection of tricks. It is something far more difficult. Becoming the kind of man who no longer needs to pretend he is difficult to lose. Now we arrive at the mistake that destroys attraction before most men even realize they are making it. Signal overload. You meet a woman you genuinely like, and suddenly your behavior changes. You text first in the morning. You react to her stories. You compliment the smallest things. You ask how her day was, then search for another question because you are afraid the conversation might die. At first it feels natural. You tell yourself, I am showing effort. I am being different from other men. I am making my intentions clear. But beneath all that effort, something darker is happening. You are no longer expressing interest. You are trying to prevent her from losing hers, and she can feel it. Picture this. You send a thoughtful message. She replies 3 hours later with 4 words. You see it immediately. You want to wait. But 30 seconds later, you answer with another paragraph. Then you stare at the screen. You tell yourself you are simply being genuine. But deep down, you are afraid that if you stop providing attention, she will forget you. That fear changes the balance. Because every unnecessary signal quietly communicates, my time is always available. You do not have to earn access to me. I need this connection more than you do. And the moment she feels that, the dynamic shifts. Not because you became less valuable, because you made your value too easy to consume. So, should you become cold? No. Coldness is often desperation hiding behind silence. The alternative is not indifference, it is fullness. There is a difference between a man who waits 4 hours to reply while thinking about her every minute, and a man who looks at his phone 4 hours later because he was building something that matters. One performs detachment, the other has a life. He trains, he works, he protects his friendships, he pursues goals that existed before she arrived. His attention is limited because his purpose demands it. And this is where emotional investment begins. People rarely value only what they receive. They value what they help create. Think about the woman you could not forget. Did you become attached because she gave you everything immediately? Or because you spent nights choosing the right words? wondering what she meant, trying to earn another moment of her attention. Your effort gave the connection weight, and the same principle works in reverse. If you initiate every conversation, carry every interaction, make every plan, and rescue every silence, what is left for her to invest? Nothing. You are building the entire relationship alone, then wondering why she feels no ownership of it. A woman cannot chase what you keep placing directly into her hands. Give her space to wonder, space to initiate, space to reveal whether her interest exists without your constant effort keeping it alive. Because every time she chooses to invest, she gives the connection meaning. And once the mind invests enough, it begins protecting the very thing it helped create. But here is the part almost nobody tells you. If you want someone to invest in you, you must leave something for them to invest. If you always text first, answer before she has time to miss your presence, offer everything before she asks, what is left for her to pursue? Nothing. She may like you, she may appreciate you, she may even desire you, but you have removed the space where emotional investment grows. The mind does not chase what it already owns. And this leads to the most important principle in this entire video: emotional independence, not coldness, not pretending you feel nothing, the ability to want her without needing her response to feel whole. Picture the man who sends a message, then checks his phone every 2 minutes. One reply lifts him, one silence ruins his night. He calls it attraction. But another person is controlling his emotional state from a screen. The emotionally independent man is different. He can care deeply without surrendering his center. If she replies, he enjoys the conversation. If she does not, his life continues moving. His work still matters. His purpose remains. His peace does not collapse. And people feel that before you explain it. It changes your posture, your voice, the way you hold eye contact. You stop asking, "Does she still want me?" and begin wondering, "Does her presence deserve a place in the life I have built?" That shift creates curiosity, because the man who does not beg to be chosen becomes the man whose choice carries weight. Now comes the question most men eventually ask: how do I become emotionally independent? Because if one message can change your entire mood, if her silence can ruin your evening, you cannot simply wake up tomorrow and decide not to care. That is not strength, that is suppression. And suppressed need always finds another way to reveal itself. You can hide it behind delayed replies, behind a colder voice, behind pretending you have options. But if you are still checking whether she viewed your story, still watching when she comes online, still building imaginary conversations in your head at 2 in the morning, then she still occupies the center of your life. You have only learned to hide the evidence. So, how do you change? You build a life heavy enough that one person's attention can no longer carry the weight of your entire identity. You train when motivation disappears. You pursue work that demands discipline. You build friendships that do not vanish when a woman enters your life. You learn. You travel. You accept challenges that remind you who you are when nobody is applauding. Not to appear busy, not to make her wonder where you are, but because your life must belong to you again. Picture 2 men after sending the same message. The first places his phone beside him. 3 minutes later, he checks it. Then again, he rereads what he wrote and wonders, was I too interested? Did I lose power? Should I delete it? His body is sitting in one room, but his mind is trapped inside her screen. The second man sends the message, puts the phone down, and returns to his life, not because he is performing detachment, because something meaningful is waiting for him. That difference cannot be manufactured, and women often sense it long before they can explain it. They hear it in your voice. They see it in the way you disagree without becoming defensive. They feel it when you do not reshape your personality to earn approval. This is why tactics eventually fail. You can copy the behavior of a powerful man, but you cannot copy the source of his power. You can wait 6 hours to reply, while thinking about her for all 6. You can pretend to have standards, then abandon them the moment beauty gives you attention. You can act cold, while secretly begging for a reaction. The mask may create curiosity, but eventually, need leaks through. Real transformation is not learning how to appear less invested. It is becoming so invested in your own life that you no longer abandon yourself to keep someone else. And this brings us to a principle I want you to remember. The point of indifference. Do not misunderstand the name. It does not mean you feel nothing. It means you can want her without needing her. You can desire the relationship without becoming terrified of losing it. You can say, I would genuinely enjoy having you in my life, but I will not destroy myself if you choose to leave. That is emotional sovereignty, and it is difficult because attraction distorts perspective. One woman enters your life, and suddenly, she appears irreplaceable. Her attention feels like proof that you matter. Her silence feels like rejection of your entire identity. You stop asking whether she is right for you, because you are too busy trying to become right for her. That is where men lose themselves. Not when a woman rejects them, when fear convinces them to betray their standards before she has even made a decision. The point of indifference is not reached by killing desire. It is reached by expanding your world, by remembering that one woman is not your final opportunity. That one unanswered message is not a verdict on your worth. That one relationship ending does not erase the man you were before it began. And when you genuinely understand that, something changes. Your shoulders relax. Your words become slower. You stop explaining yourself to avoid being misunderstood. You stop negotiating for attention. You stop clinging to people who are already walking away. Not because you became heartless, because you finally developed the strength to choose yourself. And paradoxically, that is when people begin feeling your presence differently. Your appearance may be the same. Your status may be the same, but the energy has changed. You are no longer entering every interaction asking, will she choose me? You are silently asking, does this connection deserve the peace I fought to build? And that question changes the balance before a single word is spoken. Now, we need to talk about communication, because most men believe attraction is destroyed by saying the wrong thing. Often, it is destroyed by the need hiding beneath the right thing. You tell her about your success, your plans, the difficult years you survived. But while you speak, part of you is studying her face. Did she smile? Was she impressed? Does she see your value now? You are no longer sharing yourself. You are presenting evidence, hoping she approves the case. And she feels the pressure. Maybe she cannot explain it, but it appears in the way you speak too quickly, the way you exaggerate details, the nervous laugh after saying something honest, the way your eyes silently ask, was that enough? Now picture another man telling the same story. He speaks calmly. He does not inflate himself. He does not search her face for permission to feel proud. He shares because the experience belongs to him, not because he needs her reaction to give it value. Then he stops. He allows silence to exist. That silence communicates more confidence than another 10 minutes of trying to impress her. Because powerful communication does not demand a reaction. It reveals, then leaves space. And this brings us to vulnerability. Some men believe strength means becoming emotionally unreadable, never admitting fear, never revealing pain, never allowing a woman to see behind the armor. That is not always strength. Sometimes, it is fear wearing a harder face. But vulnerability has two forms, and confusing them can destroy attraction. The first comes from strength. A man says, "My father was never there. It affected me, and I spent years learning how not to carry that absence into everything I became." He is honest, but he is not asking her to rescue him. He owns the wound. The wound does not own him. The second comes from desperation. He reveals everything too soon. Every betrayal, every insecurity, every fear of abandonment. Then he watches her face, hoping she will repair what another person broke. One creates intimacy. The other transfers emotional responsibility. One says, "I trust you enough to see me." The other silently says, "I need you to hold me together." And here is the uncomfortable truth. The more terrified you are of losing someone, the more likely you are to unload your emotions in an attempt to secure them. You call it honesty, but beneath the confession is a hidden request. Promise you will not leave. Real vulnerability does not beg. It does not perform pain for reassurance. It reveals the scar without handing someone else responsibility for healing it. A grounded man can speak about the darkness he survived, because he no longer needs another person to pull him out of it. And if you have stayed until this moment, right, I made it. Not for me. as proof to yourself that you are willing to hear what most men avoid, that sometimes the need to be chosen is the very thing making you abandon who you are. Before you leave, understand this. Today you learned why chasing harder often creates less desire, why emotional independence changes the balance, why attention loses power when it becomes guaranteed, and why the man who refuses to abandon himself becomes the man a woman cannot easily forget. But there is another side to this psychology, because becoming difficult to possess is only the beginning. In tomorrow's video, I am going to break down the hidden behaviors that make a woman become emotionally invested, long before she consciously realizes she is chasing you. You will discover the subtle tests most men completely misread, the moments when she quietly measures your emotional strength, and the one reaction that can either deepen her attraction or expose your need for validation in seconds. If you think you understand the game now, wait until you see that. Tomorrow, we go deeper. But for now, do not leave yet. The video appearing on your screen right now reveals the next piece you need to understand, because knowing how to stop chasing is not enough. You also need to recognize the hidden psychological patterns that cause a woman to think about one man, even when he is no longer in the room. Click the video on your screen now. What you are about to learn connects directly to everything we uncovered today. And once you recognize this pattern, you will begin seeing details in female behavior that most men never notice. If this video gave you a different way of seeing attraction, subscribe to the channel and leave a like so more men can discover what is usually left unsaid. Most men believe what they are shown. You understand what hides beneath it. I'll see you in the shadows.